Hi there, it's Christine from Revive and Pia, and I have your Monday motivation message for you. So I wanted to talk a little bit about energy vampires today. I was talking about this with someone else, and I think it's important because we all have those people in our lives who drain us of our energy, right? Knowing or not knowing, willing or not willing, they do it. They drain us, they bring us down from a good mood to a bad mood, from a high vibe to a low vibe. And they are called energy vampires for a reason, right? They're just sucking the life out of us. So first of all, being aware is huge, right? Like being aware of the energy around us. First of all, what we're putting out, right? If we're walking into a room all angry and heated, that's the energy we're putting out. And we have to be aware of that. And it affects other people. And then the energy that other people put on us, and knowing whether it is in tune or in alignment with our energy, if it's where we want to be, if they're in a low vibe and we're high, we don't want to drop down, right? So it's really being aware of that energy that's around us and making the decision of where you want it to be. So if somebody comes at me low, I don't want that. I'm not going to accept that, right? So awareness is key. And having a few tools as well. So I'm going to tell you a little example. There was somebody that I used to see regularly for dinner. And we would have a great time having dinner, but the conversation always went to something negative. I think they actually maybe thought it was more entertaining to tell me stories that were negative. Oh, this thing happened at work and this person's just a mess. And oh, this neighbor of mine always doing this. And I was just constantly guessing what was going to be next, but it was always negative. It was never something positive that happened to them. And again, I think it might have been just the way they would be storytelling, thinking it was more entertaining. But for me, it was really heavy and really negative. And I started really, dreading going and stepping into this conversation. So, the first way you could is just avoid it, right? Just, not carry on with this type of person or friendship or whatever. If it's this person that's very heavy all the time, you can avoid, right? That's one way of doing it. But if we are going to have relationships with these people, and I personally really like this person, so I want to continue it, but I don't want to stay in this low vibe and this low conversation. So there's a couple of ways to approach it. First of all, they're looking for you to feed that energy back to them. That's how they continue, right? That's why they're sucking the energy out of you. That's why they're called energy vampires. So don't feed them the energy. Do not engage with them. So instead of me, agreeing, yeah, oh, wow, really? And making them feel that their story is entertaining me, I literally would just throw a blank face. And they would look at me as they're talking, and they weren't getting anything out of me. They weren't getting a reaction. They weren't getting what they were trying to do. They weren't getting that energy feeding them back. So slowly they stopped telling me the story because I wasn't feeding the energy. The other thing I also did at times when it was appropriate was I would flip the story and make it a high, right? Change the low vibe to a high vibe. I would kind of throw it back at them. Oh, really? Well, what if this had happened? Or did you ever think that this person might have done it because of this? And I would try to show maybe empathy towards that person so they would see it in a different light. Or I would, say, well, what if this had happened? Or give an example of a similar story that's happened to me and how it ended on a positive note, right? Or how it affected me. So they would actually start feeling some empathy towards that person, maybe stop being so negative. So by turning a negative to a positive and flipping that low vibe to a high, I was able to just sort of change the whole conversation from where they were taking it. So we have choices, right? We have choices to, figure out what energy we're sitting in, what's being thrown at us, how we're going to handle that. And again, I really believe if you stop feeding that energy and feeding into what they're looking for and engaging with them, then they just sort of back away, right? They either just walk away or they change the topic because you're not feeding them the energy. So that's the best advice I can say to you, is to be aware of the energy you're putting out because you don't want to be considered that energy vampire. Be aware of the energy that you're receiving And if it's bringing you down, change it, right? You have that power. Flip it, change it to a positive. The other thing is sometimes, like I said, they're not even aware that they're doing this. So it's completely optional if you want to just do it in a very subtle way so that they have no awareness, or, find a way that you can very politely and with love and kindness, talk to them about how, sometimes that kind of talk makes you not feel comfortable and that you would like to, talk about something else. So I really think we have choices, and we have to make them with grace and with kindness. But I definitely believe that you have to choose yourself, and you have to choose not falling into this low energy and this low vibe, because it is just so easily to stay down in that energy and just be caught down there. We want to keep the vibration high. We want to keep the, energy on a high level. So just say no to those energy vampires. Do not feed into their energies. Do not feed into their fears if they're throwing them at you. Just, stay positive, place a bubble of protection around you, and keep their energy out. Stop feeding it. All right. So that's my tip from my heart to yours. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope you are able to raise your vibration and keep those energy vampires at bay. Take care, and I'll talk to you guys next week.